Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Alex and DJ Watch It Doc. I'm DJ.
And I am Alex.
Welcome. We have another uplifting episode for you today. As you know, documentaries are often very uplifting and give you hope for the world. Maybe I'm being a bit facetious, but there was some hope at the end of this one, I suppose. We watched The Story of Plastic, which is a documentary about the story of plastic. You know it. You love it.
What a wonderful synopsis. Yeah, that's definitely what it was. It began with plastic, it ended with plastic, and there was a lot of plastic in the middle.
Oh, yeah. So much plastic in the middle.
Shitload of plastic. I chose this one because it was nominated. Sorry, it won an Emmy for writing. I found out for documentary.
Writing.
Yeah, for something in documentaries. I don't remember the exact thing, but there you go. Yeah,
and then I saw one of the writers was Tony Hale. Is that the guy from Arrested Development?
Do you know? I'm glad that you mentioned that because I was wondering that myself when I saw that. I Googled it with his name and Story Plastic together, and then I saw an image of a person who's not the guy from Arrested Development.
Oh, damn. I was thinking Buster has a social conscience I didn't know about.
I know. For a moment, I thought it was like Ed Begley Jr.
Is that his name from Veep?
No, Ed Begley Jr. is like another like actor who became around the time of like Inconvenient Truth. He was like a real. He was an activist.
The name rings a bell. Anyway.
Yeah. He's been in a bunch of stuff. Like I think he was in like Saint Elsewhere or some shit like that. I don't know, like in a bunch of like 80s and 90s things. I can't remember the specifics, but you might recognize him in some things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll do another episode on Ed Begley Jr. You know that's coming.
Hopefully we've got like a Val version of Ed Begley, except all he had was like a voice recorder, so not as visual. Anyway.
Well, let me ask you this, Alex. Obviously this movie was about just how devastating plastic is to the environment, and we know that because there's a lot of education around it. But one of the main kind of theses of the movie was that there's too much of an onus on the consumer and not enough education about what actually goes into making plastic and why it's such a lucrative business and why these petroleum companies are pushing it so hard. But before we get into all that, I want to ask you, do you make a conscious effort to not use too much plastic, or are you really, do you focus on recycling a lot? Like, what role does plastic play in your life?
Actually, I did. I cut out a lot of things. When you're at a comedy club and they say you ask for water and they give you the water bottle, like you're thinking like you're doing you a favor. It's like no, just from the tap is good. No, but look, it's a water bottle. I was like, first of all, you don't know the fact that the water is not as good sometimes. It's not regulated in the same way, or it is just tap water on its own that's been, reverse osmosed its way out of any minerals that are healthy for you. I don't want to get into that, but I'm like, just give me a glass. So I absolutely avoid buying any plastic bottle. I actually kept, almost like a commemoration, I kept my last plastic bottle that I ever bought, and it's funny because I left it here. I realized we were a little rushed, so I didn't get. It's here somewhere. It's hold on, let me get it. There's a lot of stuff here. We both just moved, so I have a lot of like packing materials, and I bought a few things, and I just did some. I do think it's here somewhere. I think. Hold on. I think it's under. Hold on. Unbelievable. It's like. Well, maybe it's over here. I know that it's. Oh, this is the stuff they wrapped all my stuff when they moved. The moving company, they wrapped it in this, which is good. I mean, it's very good. It really kept everything safe and.
Mm-hmm. And you're gonna reuse it.
I do have it. I have it here. Hold on. I do have it. Just ran out of toilet paper, but that's fine. By the way, what's cool is this thing was free. It's free, right? On YouTube. But
the documentary,
yeah, because I looked. It's also available on Amazon Prime, which is kind of funny because I did get a couple of things from Amazon Prime. Interesting, by the way. That's paper on the outside, definitely plastic, just completely unrecyclable. But
multi-layered.
Here, hold on. I just It's just that the pandemic, we've been eating out a lot. I think I put it somewhere in here. I'm trying to figure out where I put it. I'm pretty sure. Seriously, though, I do have it. I have it. I do. I'm telling you, it is somewhere in the vicinity of... oh, no, it's right here. It's right here. Sorry, I just found it. Forgot it was right here.
That's the last one you ever bought? The last water bottle?
Trader
it's
Joe's.
in pristine
too.
shape.
It is. It's in good shape. I kept it in good shape because, sometimes I thought maybe I'll use it as a... But it's, it's benign and beloved Trader Joe's is also part of the problem, by the way. I think they even mentioned it maybe in the doc or maybe another thing that I watched or listened to. So even Trader Joe's, I shop at Trader Joe's. They have so many snacks, single-use
It's true.
snacks,
You know what I love about Trader Joe's is if you buy something from another culture, they change the name on the package. Like if you buy something that's like vaguely Asian, it says Trader Ming's.
Yeah, that became a thing, right? That was people railed against that. In
Oh,
this
did
culture.
they?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, it
totally.
doesn't
By the
seem
way,
right.
I forgot to also show all the...
I just want to say that was a great visual gag of all the plastic you had there, but I just can't wait to listen to the audio and see how annoying that's going to be to just hear plastic crinkling in the ears of our listeners for 2 minutes.
Yeah, by the way, that's like an ASMR that doesn't get as many hits. Here's, by the way, some ketchup packets. Yeah, that's yeah. Yeah, I was actually thinking that's some bad ASMR right there. Hold on, let me just get. I actually engulfed myself. And that was half of what I have, by the way.
My goodness. Yeah, they wrapped my stuff up when I moved too. I just used a moving company for the first time. Was that your first time ever using a moving company to move?
No, it was the second time, but I've never seen it wrapped like that before. I really feel it's almost as though like they're getting incentives to use more plastic these days.
It's crazy how much plastic they used. Yeah. So, but there's an incentive right now, as they said in the documentary, for people to use more and more plastic. Like, I'm not saying the moving company is getting a directive from big plastic to use more plastic, but there is certainly a push from the very top, from the Exxons and the BPs, because it's the thing that really stuck with me from this documentary is that this is a product that is dictated by supply, not demand. So they're pushing it on us because they have the supply and they have enough money to market it and to distribute it. So I've never thought about plastic in that way. Like, obviously the use of plastic water bottles during my lifetime has exploded. We didn't drink from plastic water bottles when I was a kid. Now if you go to somebody's house, if they don't have plastic, like, I don't drink plastic water bottles either. I just drink from the tap. But when people come over, if they see you don't have bottles, they're almost like, they're perplexed. They're like, what do you mean you don't have plastic water bottles?
Are you suggesting that I should be drinking sewer water? What is it that you're giving me here? I mean, I do have a filtration system, but that's and by the way, I'm no, in spite of the wonderful earth background, I have this forestral. I'm making up words, but tune into YouTube, by the way, to catch what a beautiful backdrop I put together for myself. In spite of it, I'm guilty. I know I'm guilty, but I will say that this documentary, as these many documentaries, have cut down on fish, right, because of Seaspiracy, and this has made me stop eating as many crunchy, salty snacks because they come in those packages.
Single use. The most. I want to say sinister single use was the sachets that they give out in developing countries for like 1 rupee in India, I believe, because they wanted to hook the poorer people into using these plastic products, and they knew if they sold something that was a pack of 10, they might not be able to afford it. So these small like sachets that are just everywhere in developing countries, and I guess the developed world to an extent too, but it just made me think of like all this stuff going on with big tech right now, and how these internal memos that got leaked that showed that Facebook realized they were fading from, like, young people didn't care about them, so they were trying to figure out how to hook like middle schoolers and get them on Facebook. Or if you go back to the creation of Joe Camel with the tobacco industry trying to hook kids on cigarettes with a cute cartoon character, just how much of like the products that exist in our world are dictated by some company, some boardroom somewhere, people being like, we got to get them. How are we going to get these people?
Yeah, that is what advertising is about, right? It is about creating a demand. And in this case, they can't even necessarily create a demand, so they just kind of push it upon people. I guess the sachet idea that these little packets allows people who don't have that much money to feel like they can live a little bit like the rich by having products that are similar to that. It's what's sinister about it is also what they show that woman in Belgium and how they'll to the people who have the ability to afford and have the consciousness and have the awareness, they will say, here, look, it's recyclable. But that's not to say that it ends there. I mean, it's they're scared, right? Because I'm getting next car, I guess, an electric car, and they're frightened of the notion of nobody using gas and oil and all that as much as they used to. So plastic was their lifeboat, right? That was their way of, and so then they got to market plastic in different ways. And how do you market? What are you gonna? They have like this guy's catching fish, and there's 40%. Fish, no, 40% plastic, 60% fish. So, they're still, they're like, hey, listen, you still got
we haven't reached a tipping point yet.
No, you got a majority of fish. What are you complaining about? Besides, they're probably going to come out with some kind of like a cookbook, like some kind of Dow chemical cookbook where you're like, listen, plastic can also be a wonderful opportunity to make delicious dishes. A little garlic butter, if it can turn lobster into a decent tasting thing, why not a little polystyrene garlic butter treat for yourself?
Yeah, quit complaining and start adapting. Okay?
Yes. I mean, they could probably add, a multivitamin and a little, I actually feel like I need to know more, like polyethylene. I don't even know if that's a thing. I need to know
anything
more.
Anything that ends in "ene" is bad. When they were going through it, they were like benzene, ethylene, or whatever. You were like, ooh, "ene." That suffix just sends shivers down your spine when you hear that "ene."
Yeah, Irene. I mean, she was a disaster for me. No, that's not a nice thing. She was nice. I don't even know her, Irene. I'll be honest with you. It is just so. I think you probably feel the same way. Is when you watch something like this and you realize how little we knew about this. How they're trying to pitch it. These. Classic sociopathic CEOs or whatever, these just old white
greasy
guys.
As fuck, man. They're all so greasy.
Just trying to pitch you the idea of how wonderful it is for our future and it's all about, that they're putting in money into the system and they're being subsidized just on top of everything else. Government subsidies. And then it's like, listen, it's not it's not our problem. It's a waste management problem. Passing the buck where there's a government, the taxpayer has to pay for recycling programs and all that sort of thing. And you think to yourself, it's like me walking into your home and taking a large dump onto your couch. And then you saying, what is this all about? And I say, hey, listen, okay, I'm just making feces here. What you have here is a waste management problem.
Anyway, see you later. I'm going to go make more feces. I'm going to bring more back to your house soon. I hope you learn how to clean it before I come back next, because you're going to have a serious problem if you don't figure this out by the time I come back and take another dump on your couch. And I will come back and take another dump on your couch.
And we've been working on some new technologies of different things I can eat to make a different kind of dump.
And then you can't even complain to anybody because the guy who's in charge of people taking dumps on your couches is the guy he's in the government, but he used to be the CEO of taking dumps on people's couches. Rex Tillerson is my example in this. He was in Trump's administration. He was the one who passed that. I forget what the name of the law or bill was, where he was giving that speech at the oil convention, and he was like, when we passed the law in 2015, which I voted for. By the way, you can say hi to me on your way out and shake my hand. I was like, you're just basically asking him for money right now. It was greasy as hell. But yeah, he was the former CEO of Exxon and then was in charge of that area of Trump's administration. I forget his exact title, but he was overseeing energy, whatever the case is. And so you're just like, these people don't give a shit. This is the thing. You mentioned the subsidies. We learned this in Seaspiracy as well. All these industries that are hurting the world are being subsidized. So not only are they not being punished, they're being subsidized.
And how is it? I mean, the fact that they can sell that. I mean, there's lobbyists and all that sort of thing, and the powers of the lobbyists. But this idea that it's just, when it suits them, they believe that it should be a free market capitalist system. But then somehow they have subsidies. I don't understand how's that gel? That's my question.
I agree wholeheartedly, because remember when they were trying to improve like the food stamp program in America, and then everybody was like, whoa, that's socialism, like pull yourself up by the bootstrap. And then the next day, or maybe the same week, they subsidized even further the farming industry. And it was like nobody even mentioned the word socialism there. So it's like, it just feels like, I'm not a political science major or anything, but it just feels like the word socialism is only bandied about when it's used as a pejorative, but nobody actually gives a shit about what it means. Like, if it helps me, it's great, it's a subsidy. If it doesn't help me, it's socialism.
Yeah, I think it's because people look at it at one level and they don't realize that at the higher level, when we're talking about subsidies for corporations and that sort of thing, clearly there's just money changing hands due to the fact that these are people who fund campaigns and et cetera, et cetera. It's two completely different things that are looked at in completely different ways. I know nothing about this, but there's an element of, I think what I was going to, by the way, to finish what I was going to say before, is that when you're watching this sort of thing, it's, I think we in the field that we're in we have very strong bullshit monitors, and they go off quite easily. So when you're dealing with that level of bullshit, when you see somebody trying to sell you something that's obviously it's a concocted marketing plan it's like a way of presenting what is obviously extremely detrimental as some economic boon for all, is so irritating, and it's so hard to deal with, because it's so hard to fight that on some level, which is one of the things when you say that this is not all bad news, because by the end you do discover that, and I discovered aside from this, is that there were opportunities because of these NGOs. What they did was they were working individually. They all banded together, and this is one of the umbrellas they band together under, which is the Break Free from Plastic, is they banded together to then have this political force where they can't, the politicians cannot, between the marketing of having everybody see these garbage patches around the world, they just can't deny it. And so then now they have to create legislation. And this is what's happening, is that now there's legislation where these corporations are going to have to start thinking in terms of how do we make this profitable, but also they have to be responsible for where this plastic is going. This idea of we're buying the chips but not the packaging in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was at least encouraging to know that, there is actually there. I mean, but then there's so much, and there's the fracking, and it's just it's so hard to fight against oil companies who've been so entrenched, and they have so much money and power that how long is it going to really take to stop all this? Because it took 10 to 15 years to get to the point where they were showing like these mountains and riverbeds of garbage. I mean, how long is it going to really take to stop this?
It's scary. Like, they showed a couple of the activists, the one where they were trying to cut through her property for that Mariner pipeline in Pennsylvania, and she sat up in a tree, and then the one day she had to go to work because people have to work, and they cut her tree down. But before they did that, they put her name and her info, her boyfriend, her car, make and model, license plate, put all that up. They doxed her, basically. There was the other woman, Diane, who was down near Houston. She was in Texas. She was in the Gulf, I think. But they, killed her dog, she said. It's scary to go up against these big guys because they're not messing around.
Yeah, they're like what they called them before, unscrupulous mobsters. That's why talking about Romania with the previous documentary where we were talking about how corrupt they are, and it's like, yeah, but that kind of corruption exists on the highest level, on the corporate level. That can happen because if billions of dollars. They talk about we're putting $2.5 billion into this, but there's $200 billion put towards plastic. It's just a drop in the bucket. It's that level, that kind of money to have one woman in a tree. Really, she's gonna stop that? They'll do what they have to do. Money,
I know.
that much kind of money at stake. They can't, And there's money at stake. I mean, even this. By the way, I forgot to mention that the YouTube, when I was watching it, there was like an ad every 6 minutes. I was like, it's free. Apparently what happened was because to celebrate this winning an Emmy, Discovery Channel said, we'll make it free on YouTube. And then I watched it on YouTube. And it was free every 6 minutes. Let's see, we had Aero Modular Sofa Collection, probably mainly most of polyester. Lavazza coffee capsules was in there.
God.
There was all kinds of fashion, which is the guiltiest for, fashion is like the most disposable, right? Because what you're wearing right now, it's woefully out of fashion, and it's hard to keep up though. Look at me. There's so much. Like there were so many things I thought you know what, you got to play within the system. It's ads do pay, but it's kind of funny, this idea of like advertising for something that will come back to haunt you. There's a kind of fun irony in that, isn't it? Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. But I wonder if they, who chooses those ads for that? Like, do the ads know that they're going to be in the story of plastic? That's the part that I find kind of funny. It's Lavazza is sort of like convenient Lavazza capsules whenever you want for a nice little Italian coffee. And they're like, wait a second, the story of plastic, this is going to cut into our sales, right? That's what I love.
That's
about
true.
it.
That's not the target demo we're looking for.
That's what I
we
love
better
about
hope that this movie made no impact on them, and that they're just like literally stirring their Keurig coffee while they're watching. Like, it's terrible what they're doing to the environment.
Yeah, absolutely. Luckily, though, these are going to be recycled somehow. I think that's what was it? There was like 2% that actually is that's like the saddest statistic is 2%. Is actually useful. That's actually reused to the point where it could be used at the same level. It's like it's not upcycling, it's not downcycling. It's even, but everything else turns into plastic bags. And which, by the way, I want to say, what the hell do I do? What do I do with my garbage? Okay, so if there's a garbage collector, I'm gonna put it in a plastic bag. What am I gonna put in a paper bag? It's gonna break through the paper. What am I gonna do? What do we do?
I thought about this. What if you could you have like the garbage thing? I have like a big garbage bin beside my house, and then I put it out, right?
Yeah.
So what if you just like emptied the plastic bag into the garbage thing and kept reusing the same plastic bag? Would they be mad at like loose garbage coming out?
This is what I'm wondering. Yes, would they be? This is a mess. It's a sloppy mess, and we got to collect. We got to smell and collect this all. It's like a slime pouring out of. I would think so. I remember in Toronto, here's another thing that I find kind of interesting is that you move to LA and you think, you're in California. They're so forward thinking when it comes to the environment. You'd think, right? A lot of liberals. Yeah. But I got here and I realized, they just have like basic recycling and garbage. Whereas in Toronto, they had the green box, they had recycling, and then they had trash. And you only had one bag of trash for a month or something like that you could. And the rest of it was recycling. And it ended up working. There was a lot of recycling, although now I know all that, like most of that plastic is not really useful. And then they had, and then you'd end up with, and then they have, compost, like the green box composting, right? And you realize how much of it's like composting, how much of it's food that you would otherwise just throw into the trash. They don't do that here. They don't collect compost. And a lot of people live in apartments. I could start composting now because I live in a house and I can maybe start doing it out the side of the house. But, although I'm going to attract coyotes, I'm sure. But it's just the fact that it's not an option is bizarre to me because it's such a waste of space to throw that food waste into because they're talking about at the end, zero waste, that movement as being, because what it does is also draws attention to the stuff that can't be recycled, all these little satchels and packets and 7 different films put together and printed on. By the way, I love that guy when he was like knocking the plastic and said you have to burn it to smell it to figure out which one it is. That's what these people are doing in their backyards in Indonesia or whatever. And I just also like the fact that they look like Matthew McConaughey, but that's another thing entirely.
But you thought that guy looked like Matthew McConaughey?
Yeah, I did. He looked like a kind of recycling Matthew McConaughey.
He had a cool look to him. I didn't think about McConaughey, but yeah, I was definitely drawn to him. He was one of the more interesting characters. And the Filipina activist woman.
Sure, of course
I was drawn to her. What can I say, Alex?
Yeah, listen, I know how superficial you are. I'm starting to realize.
I have a Filipino wife. You know what I mean? It makes it okay.
Saying.
I go, hey, I see it.
That makes it okay. Yeah, it makes it okay. I mean, we're talking about plastic over here, okay? We're not talking about people you like.
So
there's yes. Oh, brand audit. That's one more thing I want to say. Brand audit. I like that. The idea that there's like, and then they showed like PepsiCo or whatever, and Coca-Cola were the biggest names of like using single-use plastic and all that.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, I mean, think about the amount in one day that's being distributed, consumed, and then thrown away from Coca-Cola alone. It's actually a story I have is I worked for this charity briefly, like in 2010, and I went on a school building mission to Ecuador with them. So I was up in the mountains, the Chimborazo province of Ecuador, building schools. It was whatever. I don't know how much of a change that organization was making, but we were in the mountains, and this village of people who had lived in these mountains in Ecuador for, I'm going to say centuries, but a long time, didn't have access to their own water because in the last 10 or 15 years, Nestle had bought the water, like where it came from at the top of the mountain. So these people, there was a fence preventing them from accessing the water in their mountain, in their village that had been theirs for, again, I'm going to say centuries, but generations. And they weren't able to do anything. They had no recourse.
I just don't know. I mean, again, I'm not educated in this, but just how do you get away with this stuff? I mean, the fact that corporations are consistently so evil, particularly with something like Nestle, that they're always looking for ways to make money, and so you always have to be on top of them, and you have to protest, and you have to. It's so much work to try to get around what they can do easily with all the money they have, and it's so irritating. I find it so irritating that they could just they can do something. The basic right of water somehow they own. They somehow decided they purchased it from a corrupt government, and they decided they own it. Again, no more bottles for me. This, by the way, is recycled glass.
Love it. And the way they get away with it is on the backs of poor people. They mentioned those people who were sifting through plastic to see how to sort it. It was mainly women, and it was always women in impoverished communities in Indonesia or India, in the communities that they focused on, making no money. But the whole operation, because they had to sort through, I think, 70 different types of plastics or something.
I think 83 is the number I caught. Unbelievable. 83.
And they're doing this for no money, and the whole system would collapse without them. And they're doing it for nothing. But that nothing for them is the difference between living or dying.
Yeah, just a couple bucks just to get a little rice or a little whatever it is. It's I mean, at some point we have to get together as a global community and just put an end to the. Again, I keep coming back to this idea of the corporation being the evil psychopath, and it is. It's disheartening. It's just that we're so engulfed in this culture too, right? Like I showed you what I got in all the plastic I have. How do I? These glasses are acetate. The lenses are plastic. I mean, what, glass? I'm going to have glass shatter in my eyes? I mean, there was a time people would have glass. I mean, glass it wasn't that long ago in a sense that you'd have bottles that were glass and you could return them and all that sort of thing. And it's just, you're like, wow, they're heavy and they could break, and plastic's just easy and light and convenient. But convenience is going to kill us if we don't get past it, huh? What are we going to do? Huh? What are we going to do? I want to know that from you, DJ. What are we going to do?
Well, I mean, dude, these documentaries they're kind of having the effect of pulling my head out of my ass, to be honest with you, because right. It's so easy to live in your little fantasy world and not even think about all the people pulling strings and making you live the life that you currently live. Like, for example, you and I both just moved, right? This is just an example based on our lives right now, but the housing market is so expensive. And to even rent is crazy right now. And there's so many factors going on there that I would have blindly just been like, I guess that's the cost of it now. But watching that one episode about the Fed gave me a little bit of insight into it. I'm not saying I know everything now, but it gave me a little bit of context for why this is such a clusterfuck in the real estate market right now. Yeah. So even just watching this plastic thing, it's like, oh, they're making the demand for it. Like, because you just see plastic everywhere. And it opened my eyes. Like, imagine I went on a trip to Southeast Asia a few years ago, and there were a couple spots we went to in a few different countries, but the one that pops up into my mind right now was Monkey Beach in Vietnam. It was beautiful, but it was covered in trash. Like monkeys running through the trash, and like not a lot of tourists there and everything. And it was a sad sight. And I will admit that my inclination was kind of what they alluded to in this movie, where I was like, man, they really don't know how to handle trash here, or they just don't care. But this movie educated me on the Western world's, I mean, I was going to say their role in it, but basically they are the originators of all this trash and plastic. So not to completely take away any responsibility from Asia, let's say, but it shifted my mentality and made me realize that there's a lot of blame to go around, and you can't just blame it on the end consumer, because that's what these plastic producers would love for you to do.
Yeah. They talked about the idea of going from, like, you don't know where it comes from and you don't know where it goes to. Plastic is just so easy and light and convenient, and you don't have to just put it in the bin, and then you let them take care of it, and you just get some more. And you don't know where it's, but it's weird because we do, when it's something is normalized, when it's just every day, everything you buy is wrapped in plastic, you think, well, I guess it must work. The fact that this is allowed because they might have a system in place. When you realize, like, oh, they have no system in place, and now they're finally getting to the point where they're going to start forcing companies to have to look at the end. There was a EPR, extended producer responsibility, where they have to, maybe the fact that this is easy for you and you don't have to pay, the fact that we have to pay for, how do we sort this? What do we do? They get off so easily, and they make so much money, and it's just weird how all these different kinds of corporations will. They really have the free reign to do whatever they want. They can shit on whatever couch they want to shit on. And at some point, you got to get them to stop shitting on couches. I mean, you're not invited over anymore if you're going to shit on my couch. Okay? It's not.
They don't need to be invited over. They'll bulldoze their way in. That's a problem. Like,
yes.
They'll shit on any couch they want to, man. Let's take this analogy.
They got a copy for a key to my house, and so what am I going to do? They get in here, they're shitting at night. I don't even know what's going on.
It's insane just how much evidence there is of neighborhoods that are, and again, they didn't really mention this in the movie, but from other things I've read, like, these are always in the most impoverished neighborhoods of, even in the developed world. If you go to, let's say, Louisiana and on the Gulf Coast, they're not putting it near the richest part of New Orleans. Like, these are, they're tucked away, and it's the poor people who have to live within a mile from it. So, and then they get cancer, and it's not like they said in this documentary, it's not like, maybe this is causing leukemia and cancer. Like, no, these people who live there, the numbers that they had were astronomical. Like, so, and there's nothing to be done.
If I may say, no guff. Oh, what's that? There's plastic in the waterways and being burned nearby, and you can see plumes of smoke coming off of this flare. It's around. I mean, how is it not going to affect you? I mean, it's so clear. The fact that burning is just an option. I didn't even realize that incineration is like what, 14% of it. Like, they're incinerating plastic. Like, you ever around a campfire, you accidentally somebody throws like a hot dog package in there. You're like, what are you, a moron? What are you, an idiot? We're all gonna Now you gotta like wait. We gotta wait until this thing burns off. This is all they're burning. That's all they're doing. How is that? How is it that we're concerned about greenhouse gases and yet you can burn plastic as a way of disposing it?
It's
I'm done
crazy.
With this. I'm done
and
with
they
this.
want the petroleum, they want the plastic in there because that's what burns the other stuff. It's not even like, oh, we hope there's not a lot of plastic in there. They're like, we need the plastic. That's what burned because it's a petroleum based. Oh, and you know another thing kindling. To bring it full
plastic
circle
kindling.
is whenever somebody would throw something in the fire that was plastic, or I've been guilty of it in the past, a campfire, you throw something in there by accident, it's plastic, you smell it, you realize you're hurting the earth. I would always see off in the distance a Native American man crying that single tear. In my mind, I would be like, oh no. But then I've watched this movie and I realized that Native American man was an ad that was produced by the petroleum companies in the 70s to put the onus on the consumer. So I'm like, even this guy that I had in my mind, and I bet you he wasn't even really a Native American. I bet you that was a white dude in makeup. He was.
Yeah, he didn't look a Native
or Italian or something.
Yeah, no, he didn't look a Native American, but no, you know, no disrespect to the Italian community. I would say that he was. It would, yeah. That you saw that, and then you find out again. It's like the fact that we've been played. The fact that what they did was it was clear that there's a problem with plastics, and the fact that they had this line from the 50s of like the future of plastics is in the trash can. And I'm thinking like, although maybe they meant it in a positive way. It's like, trash cans are heavy, they're metal. We're going to make them plastic. The trash can itself is going to be plastic. No, but the fact that they turned it around and said like, oh, no, littering. And then, of course, they have Ronald Reagan doing the voiceover of some PSA where it's like, you're having your picnic, but who likes a litter bug? And cute, also the Plastic Alliance, these cute little voices like, we're doing great things with plastic. Just all this bullshit. It makes me so nauseous. I can't take it anymore, DJ. I tell you, I can't take it. I won't.
The one guy who said,
got this stuff behind me, hon. I just realized this is like the worst lumbar support ever used in. So much of it.
That was never ending.
It's like a bad magic trick.
It really is. Is there any other kind?
No disrespect to all the magicians out there entertaining us.
Especially not the Italian magician. My goodness. We've really drawn the eye of the Italian magician today, I tell you that much. Hey, bada boom, bada bing.
Yeah. No disrespect. Huh?
You want to get into the final 3 questions?
I guess. Why not? Tell me, what are they?
Well, the first question I have for you, Alex, is, what'd you learn?
Yeah. Well, obviously the fact that I was swindled and hoodwinked into the fact that I thought that I could recycle all this stuff, and there's really just maybe a couple things that are recyclable. I'm telling you, we got to go back to glass and metal. That stuff is completely, fully recyclable. It's I'm trying to. I was about to order some molded plastic chairs because I had this really nice Eames, 60s mid-century modern look, and then I said, what am I doing? I canceled them. I canceled the order.
Really? From watching this doc?
Yeah, partly. Yeah, a big part of it. Although that's not single use, but still, it's plastic. And I was thinking, you know what? Why don't I just? Maybe it won't be as cool, but if I can find something on Craigslist that's been already used, that's kind of all right, and I can use that. Those counter stools will be fine for my new counter.
I love it. it.
Yeah. So I mean, there's. I guess I kind of learned about. Although, yeah. I don't know. Just the idea that there's just that the stuff that I thought, because I also did, by the way, just real quick, plastic bags and all that. I looked it up. I was like, am I supposed to recycle this? And they say, oh, you put all the plastic bags and that sort of thing into a bag so it doesn't gum up the system. So I would do that. I'd take all the plastic stuff that's like thin plastic bags and whatever. They'd say like pretty much everything's recyclable, and I put it into a plastic bag and I tie it off and I'd throw it in the recycling thinking, oh, okay, well, at least I'm not gumming up the system. But now I'm learning that those aren't really recyclable. I don't know what they're doing with it. They just don't want you to gum up the system, I think, is the issue. So, I mean, I guess it's just garbage. Anyway,
It's tough because even when you said, "Oh, I'm not going to get the plastic furniture," you're like, maybe I'll get something on Craigslist, and I'm like, okay, well, even if you got plastic from Craigslist, but that's still. I don't think that's our main worry. I guess single use, I think, is the main.
I think you're right. I think you're right. But I mean, inevitably, yeah, like it will end up in a landfill. I mean, I would sell it. They're very cool and people would want to buy it. But, plastic, I mean, if you can avoid plastic. But again, what am I going to get instead? I'm going to get like something with a metal frame, but it's going to probably have like, I don't know if I'm going to bother buying a leather. It'd be too expensive. So then I get like some
and animals have to die for that, which is a whole other activist issue.
Right, I'm sure you're gonna take us down that road, but but again, it's like PVC, fake leather, so that's another plastic. Again, it's really hard to avoid unless you go full Amish.
It's true.
Yeah.
Even my dad's girlfriend was telling me she lives near the Amish. They live near the Amish in St. Jacobs, Ontario. She saw a few Amish people on cell phones going by them on the buggy the other day. So even the Amish aren't immune to the perils of the new world, the trappings of the 21st century.
You can't get away from a smartphone. It's just so addictive. Yeah, could have been Orthodox Jews though. They use a lot of technology. Maybe she may have she thought it was Amish and ended up being Lubavitch. Anyway,
maybe. I learned that the U.S. government in the last 10 or 20 years has just relaxed all rules on the oil and gas companies. Like what it said. In the 2000s, the U.S. Energy Policy Act passed, which gave oil and gas companies exemptions to environmental and health regulations, and that's when the shale gas boom happened after that, and all this fracking, and I don't know if you've ever saw the documentary Gasland, but this dude this guy was showing in his community, I forget where it was, it might have been Pennsylvania or Ohio or something, somewhere in that area of the U.S., they were they were able to light their kitchen water on fire because of all the
I saw that. I've seen that image. Yes, I've seen that. Maybe I did see a bit of that. Yeah, the fracking thing. It's just the most ridiculous, unbelievable. But how convenient is that? Is that you can cook a hot dog and have a glass of water at the same time. I got to tell you, that's not bad. I love multitasking. How'd
you feel?
Outraged, huh? That's a good one. That nobody feels that anymore, huh? Yeah, that's isn't that the emotion du jour, huh? Outrage. But at least this is outrage for legitimately good reason, not some social thing.
Dave Chappelle's latest special or something.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's just I do feel irritated, and I don't. You know what it is? I felt. You feel like a sap, like a patsy, like what do you call them? Like a sucker, these guys are a bunch of P.T. Barnums, and they treat me like a sucker.
It's true, and you like to believe you're smarter than that, and then you watch something like this, you're like, no, I'm just one of the plebs that is being pulled along in this scheme.
I hate that. I hate being a pleb.
I know, fun word to say, not a fun life to live. I felt outraged as well. I finished watching it this morning, actually. I woke up and had 20 more minutes to watch, and I was eating my cereal, watching it, and I was like, damn, why did I ever think we could make a documentary podcast funny? Everything is terrible. Everything is... I mean, I'm still happy we're doing it, and we're trying our best to bring some sort of levity to it, I guess, but my goodness... everything you watch, and it usually boils down to corporations and government, where you're like, they don't give a shit about us at all.
That's it. And the irony is that both kind of, you might hear blaming of one or the other towards you. Like somebody might say, oh, it's the corporations, they're evil. And then some people think, the government, you want them to run things. They don't know how to run anything. And you realize, no, everybody has the capacity for evil, and they like to fill that capacity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where do we go from here?
Fill that capacity, fill it to capacity. Anyway,
it made sense.
I
wouldn't even question
clever,
it.
But you didn't try to question it, but I'm my harshest critic. So
no,
where do we
I'm
go
your harshest critic.
Yeah, I know that. That's a real friend. I'll tell you where we go from here. I went to their website, breakfromplastic.org, right? You can go there, right? This is me trying to do like a plug, which this is actually one of those times where it's like a good plug, not like this Lavazza coffee plug. That's a good plug. Not like the Trader Joe's. Where's that bottle? Anyway, but I noticed there's a whole bunch of other, because they did that story of plastic as like a short. Like they're known for the story of stuff. They made that, and it's like these it's just a bunch of animations to let you know how much shit we're using, and then and they have a lot of stories. They have the story of electronics, cosmetics, microbeads, so they've got So I guess educating myself more on consumption, which I'm trying to cut down on now. I'm starting to think more in terms. I have for a while, but clearly not that much because I'm right now sitting in a room. I really wish I could just pick up my camera right now, just show you the plastic that's surrounding me. But
at the end of the episode.
What is it?
Do it at the end of the episode.
Okay, maybe I will. It's sad. Although it also shows how I haven't fully unpacked my studio yet. So where do we go from here? Reusable packaging, which I do. I do have a lot of reusable bags. And localized systems like going to the farmer's market, which I do. I do go to the farmer's market, as you know, every week. Although I go to the farmer's market and then I go to Trader Joe's to pick up whatever they don't have at the farmer's market. I'm now going to have to start cutting down on the packaging because they're bad. Trader Joe's is bad for packaging. Bulk. Oh, I'm going to go to Sprouts instead. That is all local shit. They have like bulk, right? You can fill up your bulk bags. I don't know if that's a thing. How about you, DJ? Where the hell are you going?
I think the same thing. I'm going to make a conscious effort in everything I do. We already use reusable bags at the grocery store. But, we've been ordering takeout and stuff since we moved in here. That's so much waste. So I don't know what I'm going to do about that, but I'm going to think about it, and I'm going to make changes after that. I don't know if it's going to be the world's biggest change, but I'm going to make some changes, damn it. But I say that after a lot of documentaries, but this one I mean it. I'm actually gonna try to have no plastic. Madge has had that as a goal for a while, and I think I might have been the main hindrance. I'm getting out of the way. We're gonna achieve, if not no plastic, minimal plastic in this household.
Okay, I like that. And by the way, I think for the takeout, I'm guilty of the same thing. I'm thinking maybe what we should do is pool our resources together. We start making large meals, and then We'll you can come over and you can have we can just give you meal prep type things. I'll give it to you, and then you make some and then we swap, and then that way we don't have to cook as much, but we both can get extra,
diversity of our meals.
That's right.
I like it.
All right, we'll see if that ever happens.
Yeah, I don't think it will, but I like the idea. Maybe we should just move into a commune together. I think that's the easiest thing here. Sounds like we're inching towards.
I think that's not a bad idea, and it feels like the mountains of Altadena is exactly where the commune should happen.
Oh, baby. Okay, well, that was the story of plastic. Another outrageous tale. Outrageous in the sense that it evoked outrage. And it was another story that just made you realize there's some things we need to fix on this planet. But knowledge is power, I suppose. Is that the takeaway?
Yes, and we are just the people to fix it. You and I, DJ. Let's get on that, huh? Because look, I'm gonna. You know what you should do is you should record whatever music. We'll choose music and play it over me going through all the plastic. Then I'm gonna take my camera and I'm just gonna let it run through the whole area. Is that good? Okay. We'll end on that.
Yeah, let's do it. But before we do, let's tell them what we're watching next week.
Oh shit! Yeah. Okay. Next week, what are we watching?
The Game Changers.
Oh, you've seen this before? It's changed your game?
I've seen it. This was a movie, one of 3 movies that kind of inspired me to go vegan, along with a couple friends that were... it's good. It's entertaining, too. And there's a great scene involving male erections that will make it all worthwhile, even if you have no interest in veganism.
Oh, dear Lord. I got enough trouble with my erections. I already just cut down on fish, and now you're gonna make me go vegan. Why?
You don't have to. Knowledge is power. That's
cut
all.
Down plastic. We're moving too fast. I mean, maybe if I go vegan, maybe a month, 2 months from now. It's just I can't. I'm just cutting down on plastic.
You don't have to make any changes. Take the information in and let it go right out if you want.
All right, I'll let it go out. All right, well, that was great.
Great. I guess that's one word for it. It was great to
don't
see you and hang out with you and talk about the state of plastic and how it's hurting our planet.
As always, DJ.
I'm DJ.
And I'm Alex.
See you next week.
Another time.